if the only way to wake up from a nightmare was to, like, completely lose your actual mind?
Oh, boy.
No, seriously, that is the question keeping me up at night. Because sometimes time itself just feels like this sick psychological trick. You know that feeling when you close your eyes on a Friday evening, you take one deep restorative breath, and suddenly your alarm is aggressively blaring for Monday morning.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an unsolved mystery, a literal crime against the space-time continuum. Where did the time go? Who stole the weekend? Because I certainly did not authorize its departure.
Is the greatest heist of our modern era, honestly. The weekend just evaporates into the ether, and we're just left standing here blinking in confusion.
It really does. But welcome back to the show, Snark Squad. If you are hearing this, it is probably Sunday, so cheers to you for surviving the week. We made it, we are here, and babes, the Aperol Spritzes are officially poured and sweating condensation on the table right now.
Oh, they are?
And let me tell you, they are absolutely phenomenal today.
Wait, are we genuinely relitigating the Aperol Spritz propaganda? Because I thought we settled this.
I reject the word propaganda because it implies deception, and I am speaking my absolute truth. Look, an Aperol Spritz is the official beverage of pretending your life is, like, exponentially more glamorous than its current reality.
I mean, sure, if glamorous means drinking neon syrup.
Stop. You hold that bright neon orange liquid, and suddenly you are not dreading the upcoming work week, right? You are summering in Positano. You're wearing linen. You own a yacht. And frankly, every single beverage on Earth tastes infinitely superior when served in a massive fishbowl-sized wine glass.
I don't know if I agree with the glassware theory.
It changes the aromatic profile. That is just basic science.
Okay, fine. I will admit it is essentially sunshine in liquid form, which is, precisely why people gravitate toward it. It's bright, it's aggressively bubbly, and it refuses to let you be sad.
Exactly.
But I have to question if it serves as the ultimate Sunday evening wind-down companion. Like, Sunday evening requires something grounding, something that anchors you to the earth before the work week begins, not a beverage that screams, let's find a rooftop day club.
I completely disagree with your entire premise. It is the perfect Sunday companion because it actively combats the Sunday scaries with sheer, vibrant defiance.
Vibrant defiance. Yeah.
Yes. And speaking of vibrant defiance, I have to fill everyone in on this past weekend. We retreated to a lake house down in North Carolina with our old dental school cohort, and babes, the energy. Yay. It was unparalleled.
It was definitely an experience.
I cannot even fully articulate the absolute perfection of this specific getaway. It was just such a vibe.
I still find it endlessly fascinating, from a sociological standpoint, that a group of clinical dentists somehow possesses the ability to vacation harder and more efficiently than almost anyone else on the planet.
We really do. Like, you would assume the weekend would consist of deeply dry conversations about enamel preservation techniques or the latest in composite resins, but no. It is an exercise in beautifully orchestrated chaos.
Well, we leave the drills and the clinical diagnoses at the door. It was magical. The water was that perfect glassy temperature. We spent hours just submerged, floating around the lakes.
Hours. Literally hours doing nothing.
And you know those specific dockside conversations?
Oh, yeah?
The ones that start casually around 2 in the afternoon, and suddenly you look up, the sun is dipping below the tree line, everything is painted in pink and gold, and you're in the middle of a profound existential discussion about where your life is headed.
It gets deep fast.
It is therapy. Plus, the culinary experience of lake snacks, a handful of standard potato chips consumed on a pontoon boat.
They do hit differently, I'll give you that.
It elevates to a Michelin star tasting menu. Watching that sunset, it strips 10 years of stress right off your shoulders. We all felt 10 years younger.
Yeah.
All of that is valid, but we need to officially settle the debate that consumed our entire Saturday afternoon.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, the objective ranking of lake activities.
Yep.
Because you hold a heavy, almost irrational bias toward just floating around like abandoned driftwood.
Because floating, specifically with a cold beverage in your hand, is the absolute zenith of human relaxation.
It's literally just bobbing in the water.
It is the peak environmental experience. What is the logical purpose of traveling to a body of water if you are not going to be partially submerged, achieving perfect buoyancy, holding a drink, and doing absolutely nothing?
The purpose is maximizing the utility of the environment. I will analytically defend the sunset cruise until my dying breath.
Of course you will.
It possesses undeniable logistical superiority. You get the cooling breeze, you absorb the panoramic views without the midday sun scorching your retinas, you aren't expending calories constantly treading water, and crucially, you eliminate the constant anxiety of dropping your glassware into the lake.
You just use a plastic cup. It's not that deep.
Boating, water skiing, tubing, those demand physical exertion. A curated sunset cruise is structural perfection. You just sit there and let the boat do the work.
A sunset cruise is just sitting in a moving chair on the water. Floating is an immersive sensory experience. But I suppose we can table this debate for now.
Probably for the best.
Because tragically, the lake house fantasy has concluded. The bags are unpacked. It is Sunday. The Great Reset is officially upon us.
The inevitable looming Sunday reset. It comes for us all.
It does. And my Sunday evening reset protocol is completely non-negotiable.
Oh, I know. It's practically a religious ceremony.
It is. It mandates a brutally long, borderline scalding shower to wash off the weekend, a deeply hydrating clay face mask, wrapping myself in the heaviest, fuzziest blanket I own.
You look like a cocoon.
I am a cocoon of wellness, and then I meticulously plan my clinical scrubs and outfits for the entire week so my brain doesn't have to make a single decision at 6 in the morning.
No.
And then, diving headfirst into reality TV until my eyes physically close, what is your strategy?
My protocol leans much heavier into sensory grounding.
Which means eating.
Yes, a genuinely substantial heavy meal, the kind that forces you to sit still. And then mindlessly scrolling through TikTok until my algorithm literally runs out of fresh content and starts showing me videos from, like, 2021.
That is so bleak.
It's effective. Then watching a complex, prestige television drama or sports, and aggressively walling off any thoughts of emails, responsibilities, or deadlines. If a problem arises on Sunday night, it legally does not exist until Monday morning.
I love that boundary, but really both of our routines are just highly elaborated coping mechanisms.
Oh, 100%.
We are desperately trying to build a fortress against the Sunday scaries. We are doing anything we can to distract our brains from the encroaching dread of reality.
That's exactly what it is, an exercise in dread management, which thematically provides the perfect bridge into today's breakdown.
Yes.
Because if we want to talk about the physical manifestation of inescapable dread, of being trapped in a nightmare you desperately want to wake up from, we need to talk about this show.
Babes, we've got mysteries, monsters, and plenty of chaos to unpack, so let's get into this episode. Oh my God, grab your blankets, Snark Squad, because the mess we need to unpack today is historic.
Historic is the right word.
Let's talk about the pure delusion, the shady power plays, and the structural chaos of best-laid plans. And I have to say, the title of this episode is deeply ironic, considering the concept of a plan in this town is basically a punchline.
It's a town governed entirely by entropy. So let's start with the architectural revelation at Colony House, which completely destabilizes everything we thought we knew about the rules of this reality.
Yes, the wall.
The episode opens with Jade and Boyd taking sledgehammers to the basement wall.
Okay, let's unpack the absolute madness of this setup. Jade recently went on a massive mushroom-induced hallucinatory trip.
A heroic dose, really.
A heroic dose. And during this trip, he envisions a hidden door in the stone walls of the Colony House basement. A door that supposedly connects to the subterranean tunnel system where the monsters sleep during the day.
Which sounds like absolute nonsense.
Right. And Boyd, the pragmatic sheriff, actually listens to him. They smash through the masonry, and babes, there it is. The door is physically real. Jade's chemical hallucinations were feeding him accurate architectural blueprints.
Which establishes a terrifying new precedent for the mythology of this realm.
It changes everything.
It does. We have always viewed the hallucinations in Fromville as psychological torture, right? Like the entity playing with their minds. But if a hallucinogenic state allows a character to perceive the hidden physical infrastructure of the town, it suggests the town operates on multiple overlapping frequencies or dimensions.
That is so creepy.
Jade essentially tuned his brain to the town's hidden frequency. They can't pry the heavy iron door open from their side, so Jade, showing a rare moment of caution, slaps a protective talisman on it.
But the discovery of this door sends Boyd into a complete spiral of validation. He feels so vindicated that he decides it's the perfect time to gather the entire town for a meeting to drop the most unhinged bombshell imaginable.
Ah, yes, the town meeting of delusion.
I was cringing so hard I pulled a muscle. Boyd stands up in front of all these exhausted, traumatized people and emphasizes that Tabitha is the literal reincarnation of Miranda,
Miranda, a woman from the town's historical past, yes.
and that Jade is the reincarnation of Christopher. I need us to pause and put ourselves in the shoes of a regular townsperson right now.
Okay, let's role play this.
Imagine your HOA president calling an emergency mandatory meeting on a Tuesday night to announce that the new neighbor down the street is a reincarnated spirit.
Right.
And his primary source for this information is the local tech bro who just did shrooms. The lack of self-awareness is staggering.
It is objectively absurd when viewed from the baseline of survival. Like the average resident, Christy or Marielle, is just trying to ration canned peaches and avoid having their ribcage torn open by a monster dressed like a 1950s milkman.
Literally just trying to survive the night.
And suddenly, leadership is introducing complex spiritual reincarnation doctrines. Marielle, who represents the voice of clinical reason here, rightfully points out that this narrative is just as manipulative and twisted as every other hallucination the forest conjures. Why should they trust it?
Christy is visibly exhausted. She essentially says, we are basing our entire survival strategy on Jade's drug trip right now.
Which is a very fair question.
Extremely fair. But Boyd pushes back with a really interesting counterargument. He brings up the incredibly macabre message the monsters left pinned to Jim's body in the previous days.
Right. Knowledge comes at a cost.
Yes. Boyd uses that specific phrasing to argue a new theory. He believes the entity running this town, or the architect, the man in yellow, whatever you want to call it, is actually experiencing fear.
Fear of the residents.
Exactly. Boyd theorizes that because they are uncovering these hidden doors and connecting these historical dots, they are getting too close to the mainframe. The monsters are escalating their attacks not out of dominance, but out of panic. They feel threatened.
Boyd's hypothesis holds architectural logic. In any closed system, when the subjects start mapping the boundaries of the maze, the administrators of the maze introduce new obstacles to disorient them.
Okay, look at you with the maze metaphors.
It's true. However, while Boyd's macro-level theory might be sound, his micro-level execution, specifically how he handles the emotional fallout of this information, is a catastrophic failure.
Oh my God, yes.
Which leads us directly to the tragedy of Henry.
Henry. Babes, my heart physically aches for this man. Boyd and Kenny realize they need to track Henry down to inform him that his deceased wife, Miranda, is currently walking around wearing Tabitha's face.
Such a casual Tuesday conversation.
Right. They finally locate him stumbling into Colony House, and he is entirely, completely blackout drunk.
And we must emphasize a critical piece of lore here. Henry is not experiencing standard alcohol intoxication.
No, he is not.
In the prior episode, Sophia, the undercover operative for the entity, slipped her own blood into his moonshine.
Which is so gross.
He is under the influence of a supernatural biological agent. His cognitive defenses have been chemically and magically stripped away.
So Boyd, with all the emotional nuance of a literal bulldozer, decides to just rip the Band-Aid off.
Terrible idea.
He drags Henry into Victor's room and bluntly tells this grieving father and traumatized son that Miranda's soul is inside Tabitha. And Henry just shatters. He explodes in a rage, flipping tables and storming out.
It is agonizing to watch.
It really is. Henry is carrying the grief of losing his wife decades ago. He just found his son, who has been trapped in a nightmare dimension for 40 years. And now leadership is demanding he accept a twisted, metaphysical reality.
Henry's violent rejection of the concept is a very standard trauma response. He uses anger to build a wall. But from an analytical standpoint, his staunch refusal to accept supernatural explanations is deeply ironic.
Oh, totally.
He is standing inside a magical purgatory surrounded by shape-shifting nocturnal predators, yet he draws the line of plausibility at reincarnation.
That's where he says, nope, too far.
Exactly. His coping mechanism is aggressive denial. After he storms out, driven by this intoxicating mix of rage and blood magic moonshine, he wanders over to Tabitha's house.
And this is where the psychological horror elements really take over. He is in Tabitha's house, and Sophia is just lurking in the shadows of the background like a sleep paralysis demon.
She is always just standing there.
Always. We will definitely judge her later, but her presence is so unsettling. Henry notices Victor's childhood crayon drawings scattered on the table, specifically the drawings of Victor, his sister Eloise, and his mother Miranda.
Right.
Henry reaches out to touch the paper, and the moment his skin makes contact, reality fractures.
He begins to hallucinate the distinct rhythmic beaving of a hospital heart rate monitor. The ambient lighting shifts to a harsh, clinical fluorescent glare.
Too scary.
He envisions himself lying paralyzed in a hospital bed, and leaning over him is Victor. But it's a version of Victor who isn't stunted by decades of childhood trauma. It's a neurotypical, well-adjusted adult Victor desperately pleading with Henry to just wake up.
This sequence is the key to understanding the villain's entire strategy right now. If we map out the cause and effect, this hyper-realistic hallucination is the direct payload of Sophia's blood spell.
Precisely.
She ingested the blood, spiked his drink, and planted a psychological virus in his mind. The idea that none of this is real, that it is all a coma dream. Sophia is actively trying to pull an Abby on Henry.
For anyone who needs a quick refresher on the town's dark history, pulling an Abby refers to Boyd's late wife.
Such a sad storyline.
It is. The psychological toll of the town broke Abby's mind, convincing her that Fromville was a shared nightmare. She deduced that the only logical way to wake up from a dream is to die within it.
Yep.
This delusion led her to open fire on the townspeople, trying to save them by killing them, forcing Boyd to shoot his own wife to stop the massacre.
It's the most tragic piece of lore in the show, and Sophia is weaponizing that exact same delusion. She is manipulating Henry's desperate desire to be back in the real world with his family.
She knows exactly what buttons to push.
She is trying to convince his subconscious that if he just ends his life in Fromville, he will wake up in that hospital bed. It is insidious. False hope is the cruelest weapon you can wield against someone in survival mode.
It is a highly efficient method of eliminating a threat without ever laying a hand on them. You just alter their perception of reality until they eliminate themselves.
Wow, you sounded like a supervillain just then.
Just analyzing the tactics. And while Henry is battling these internal, manufactured hospital hallucinations, Victor is dealing with intense, tangible historical trauma out at the junkyard.
The junkyard sequence fundamentally shifted how I view the timeline of this town. Victor insists on taking Tabitha and Ethan deep into the car graveyard.
Which is a terrible place for a child, by the way.
So bad. But he is on a mission to find the specific brown car that the architect, the man in yellow, drove into town decades ago on the night of the Great Massacre. And the terrifying part, they actually find it.
They do.
They find the man in yellow's vehicle, buried in the rust and overgrowth, sitting right near Miranda's old car.
And when Victor forces the rusted glove box of the man in yellow's car open, he pulls out a heavy leather pouch. And when he dumps the contents, it is entirely filled with human teeth.
Ugh, it made my skin crawl. It's so deeply macabre.
It's grotesque, but it is a massive clue regarding the mechanics of the entity. Let's cross-reference this with recent events.
Okay, let's do it.
When Sophia murdered the town priest earlier this season, she deliberately extracted one of his teeth to keep as a trophy. Finding an entire pouch of teeth hidden in the man in yellow's car implies that this is not a new behavior.
You know it's a pattern.
This is a centuries-old ritualistic tradition. The man in yellow has been harvesting these trophies for a very long time, which points toward the idea that the town operates on cyclical harvest periods, pulling in specific archetypes of people over and over again.
That cyclical nature is exactly what triggers Victor's breakdown. Tabitha reaches out and touches the hood of Miranda's car, and she instantly receives a memory transfer. She vividly remembers Miranda driving into the town and picking up two specific people on the road.
Right, the visions are getting stronger.
But Victor is the one who puts the catastrophic puzzle pieces together. He looks at Tabitha, he looks at Ethan, and he realizes history is repeating itself with terrifying precision.
Victor maps the variables. He states the pattern out loud. The last time this specific sequence of events triggered, Miranda arrived in town bringing a boy and a girl, Victor and his sister Eloise.
The parallel is crazy.
Shortly after the man in yellow manifested, the town was slaughtered, and out of the family unit, only the boy, Victor, survived. Now he looks at the current variables. Tabitha has arrived. She brought a boy and a girl, Ethan and Julie.
Oh my God.
The man in yellow's presence is being felt again. Victor concludes, through a purely historical lens, that Ethan is destined to be the sole survivor of the impending massacre. He is frantic, terrified, trying to warn them of the inevitable math of the situation.
And this is why I have to pause and aggressively judge Tabitha. I really do.
Go off.
I understand she is under an unimaginable amount of stress, but her emotional intelligence in this moment is zero.
Absolutely zero.
Victor is a deeply traumatized man whose emotional development was literally frozen in the 1970s. He has been trapped in a purgatorial slaughterhouse for 40 years. He watched his mother die. He watched his sister disappear.
She's been through it.
He is currently having a severe panic attack because he genuinely loves Ethan and is terrified Ethan is going to end up a shattered, lonely survivor just like him. And how does Tabitha respond?
Poorly.
Instead of offering an ounce of empathy or de-escalation, she physically shoves herself between Victor and Ethan, glares at Victor, and aggressively snaps, "What is wrong with you?"
It is a profound failure of empathy, driven entirely by her own maternal panic.
It's so mean.
Tabitha operates on a very narrow bandwidth of protection. The moment Victor suggests Ethan might be the only survivor, implying her own death and her daughter's death, her maternal defense mechanisms override any logical assessment of Victor's trauma.
But she doesn't have to yell at him.
She treats a man offering a legitimate historical threat assessment like he's a dangerous lunatic. It is terrible interpersonal management.
It's so frustrating. But honestly, Tabitha's lack of situational awareness pales in comparison to the absolute managerial incompetence displayed by Boyd in this episode.
Oh, here we go.
Which brings us to Sophia, the garden cabin, and the dark art of necromancy.
The administrative failures in this sequence are staggering. Let's break down exactly what happens. Sophia, the town's resident demonic sleeper agent, casually strolls over to the chicken coop.
Just a normal farm day.
She utilizes some sort of supernatural olfactory sense to sniff out a specific fertilized egg. She murmurs an incantation over it in a language we don't understand, walks over to the garden shed, and violently smashes this bloody, fertilized egg over the chest of Roger's dead body, instantly resurrecting him from the dead.
Okay, the magic itself is terrifying, but let's zero in on the logistical absurdity of this scenario.
Please do.
Boyd left Roger's human corpse rotting inside a garden cabin directly in the middle of the settlement for 3 entire days. 3 days.
It makes no sense.
People are casually walking past a shed containing a decomposing body while going about their daily chores. When Donna, who is usually the only person with any common sense, rightfully screams at Boyd about this biohazard, Boyd's defensive excuse is that the town cemetery is currently full.
Well, full.
Are you kidding me?
It defies all logic. You are trapped in an infinitely expanding, magical, terrifying forest. The concept of running out of real estate does not apply.
You literally just walked slightly further.
You hand 2 able-bodied residents a pair of shovels, you walk 20 yards past the tree line, and you dig a hole. Leaving a corpse lying around in a town actively plagued by supernatural entities, shapeshifters, and blood magic is peak managerial incompetence. It's essentially leaving ammunition out for the enemy.
I was yelling at my screen. Boyd is supposed to be the tactical leader, the military man, and he's just shrugging his shoulders like, zoning laws say we can't expand the graveyard. Just leave Roger next to the rakes.
Purgatory zoning laws are very strict.
And of course, the ancient evil witch uses the neglected corpse to perform a dark resurrection. It is so preventable.
Boyd's decision-making matrix is entirely compromised right now, and it's largely due to his declining physical and mental health.
That's true.
He's battling severe hand tremors, which he is terrified are the early onset of Parkinson's disease, the same illness that ravaged his father. He is stubbornly hiding this medical reality from Christy, the town's actual medic.
Which is so dumb.
He is simultaneously hallucinating images from his past. Yet, despite being physically compromised and psychologically fragile, he decides he must be the one to single-handedly test the new settlement totems on the nocturnal monsters.
Right, let's talk about the totem plan. Because Tabitha recalled a memory that these specific stone totems have the power to kill the creepy ventriloquist-style dolls in the underground caves, the leadership assumes the transitive property applies.
Which is a massive leap in logic.
They hypothesize that stabbing a nocturnal monster with a totem will kill it. Boyd wants to use himself as bait, lure a monster out of the woods, and stab it in the chest. But Ellis and Kenny intervene. They see Boyd's hands shaking violently.
They finally notice.
They realize sending a man with severe tremors into close-quarters combat with a super predator is a suicide mission. So Coach Kenny valiantly steps up to take the mantle.
It is a genuinely noble sacrifice by Kenny. He is willing to risk his life to establish a new defensive protocol for the town. However, the entire tactical operation is compromised before the sun even sets, entirely due to Boyd's loose lips.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
When Boyd and Kenny are mapping out this highly sensitive life-or-death ambush in the sheriff's office, Sophia, the literal spy for the monsters, is standing 3 feet away, quietly sweeping the floor.
She is just sweeping.
She absorbs every detail of the operational playbook.
Which is infuriating. So when night falls, the monsters are not caught off guard, babes. They are completely prepared. They mobilize with military precision.
They really do.
They block the doors of every single house in the vicinity of the post office, cutting off Kenny's retreat paths. Kenny manages to sneak up on one of the creatures. He drives the stone totem directly into its chest cavity, and absolutely nothing happens.
Nothing.
The creature doesn't even flinch. The totem is completely inert against them.
It is a devastating pivot in the lore.
Yeah.
It firmly establishes that the rules of magic governing the underground dolls do not apply to the surface-dwelling creatures. The monsters are a different classification of entity entirely.
The sheer suffocating panic I felt watching Kenny realize the weapon was useless. He's completely exposed. He has to sprint for his life and scramble onto the roof of the hollowed-out bus.
The bus scene was intense.
And then Smiley, arguably the most deeply unsettling monster in the entire show. Smiley climbs up the side of the bus after him. Smiley slowly stalks Kenny on the roof, casually taunting him about how they slaughtered his father. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I genuinely believed we were going to lose Coach Kenny right there on the metal roof.
The tension in that scene was masterfully constructed. But this is where the episode completely flips the established mythology on its head and introduces a massive new power dynamic.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Miles away, safely inside Colony House, Fatima is standing near the clay golem she constructed. Suddenly she gasps. Her eyes widen.
Because we have to remember the lore, guys. Fatima was pregnant, and she essentially gave birth to the entity that became Smiley. Because she is his biological or supernatural mother, she possesses a psychic maternal tether to him.
It's a psychic Bluetooth connection.
Basically, she can literally see the world through Smiley's eyes. When Smiley enters his full predatory monster state on top of the bus, preparing to rip Kenny apart, Fatima flexes this connection. She mind controls him.
It's incredible.
She psychically paralyzes Smiley, freezing his motor functions just long enough for Kenny to deliver a massive kick to his chest, knock him off the bus, scramble inside, and secure the door with a talisman. Fatima, sitting miles away, saved Kenny's life.
It is a paradigm-shifting revelation. It recontextualizes Fatima entirely. Meanwhile, as Fatima is discovering her latent psychic abilities, Colony House is experiencing a completely different, terrifying breach.
Roger.
Zombie Roger. The corpse Boyd neglected to bury has fully reanimated. But he hasn't turned into a calm, smiling monster. He wakes up in a state of sheer, unadulterated human panic.
It's so sad.
His jaw has been roughly sewn shut, his eyes are replaced with buttons, and he is frantically clawing at his own face, desperately trying to rip the sutures open so he can scream. And somehow, in this state, he completely bypasses the protective talisman on the front door and smashes his way into the foyer.
The visual of Roger clawing at his sewn mouth is going to haunt my nightmares forever. But this leads to the ultimate redemption arc of the season.
He really does.
Elgin, who has been struggling, who has been manipulated by his own terrifying visions of the drowning woman all season, finally steps into his power. He doesn't freeze. He grabs the second stone totem they found, sprints toward the breach, and violently impales Zombie Roger against the doorframe.
Just spears him.
And it works. Roger immediately drops dead. The totem effectively kills him.
Exactly. This provides us with the missing piece of the magical equation. It proves that while the totems are completely useless against the ancient nocturnal monsters, they do possess the power to sever the reanimation magic controlling a human corpse. It is a highly specific, highly crucial loophole in the town's physics.
And the entire chaotic sequence ends with this chilling cinematic shot. The camera pans up, and Sophia is just standing at the top of the Colony House staircase, bathed in shadows, smiling down at the absolute bloodbath she just orchestrated.
Just enjoying the show.
She is radiating pure malice. She sent the monsters to ambush Kenny, and she resurrected a rotting corpse to terrorize the house strictly for her own dark entertainment.
It perfectly illustrates her role in the ecosystem. She isn't just an obstacle, she is an active instigator of suffering. Which naturally leads us to the core questions of the show. We need to structurally analyze what the underlying mechanics of this world actually are, because the rules are shifting rapidly.
Which brings me to the absolute most glaring question we have to answer right now. What is actually going on with the nature of this town? My brain is spinning in 100 different directions.
Where are you starting?
For me, the most profound mystery of the episode wasn't the monsters, it was the Viewmaster. Boyd looks into this cheap plastic toy, and instead of seeing cartoon slides, he sees a high-resolution, real-world photograph of his own wedding to Abby. a photo from before they ever got trapped.
It's a huge anomaly.
How on earth does the infrastructure of this town possess access to tangible, real-world memories that the residents did not physically pack in their suitcases?
That is the crux of the psychological horror aspect of Fromville. It proves that the town is not merely a physical cage, it is a psychic one.
A psych cage, I hate that.
If the environment can comb through Boyd's subconscious, extract highly specific, deeply sentimental imagery from his past, and manifest it into physical reality to torment him, it means the entity running this place has root access to their minds.
Which means they have no privacy, even in their own heads.
Exactly. They're not just trapped geographically. Their very consciousness is plugged into the mainframe of the town. But for me, the most significant mystery is the pouch of teeth Victor found in the rusted glove box.
Ugh, the teeth. It is so visceral and gross.
It is visceral, but it's vital data. We know Sophia extracted the priest's tooth as a trophy to commemorate her kill. If the man in yellow has an entire glove box filled to the brim with human teeth, it implies a massive scale of historical violence.
Like centuries of it.
Is he collecting a tooth from every single victim? Are those teeth the remnants of previous failed iterations of the town's population? It suggests that the massacres are not random acts of predatory violence, but deeply ritualistic harvests. The teeth act as a ledger.
That is such a dark, clinical way to view it, but it makes total sense. But honestly, even with all that dark lore, the most shocking moment for me, hands down, the moment I was literally screaming at my television screen, was Fatima's psychic mind control.
Oh, for sure.
Fatima is essentially channeling 11 from Stranger Things right now, or even Will Byers when he was biologically connected to the Mind Flayer. She can project her consciousness through the monster's eyes and freeze its physical form.
The Will Byers comparison is incredibly apt. Because she gestated and birthed the entity, she has unknowingly integrated herself into their hive mind.
It's so cool, but so scary.
It is a brilliant narrative evolution because it takes Fatima, a character who has spent the entire season trapped in a spiral of physical and emotional helplessness regarding her pregnancy, and suddenly transforms her into potentially the most devastating weapon the human resistance possesses.
She is the weapon now.
But it introduces a massive variable of risk. At what cost does this power come? If she exerts control over Smiley, does the darkness of the hive mind flow backward up the tether and infect her own soul?
Oh, I am so worried for her. She's playing with fire. But as we look at the shifting dynamics, we have to evaluate who is actually processing this trauma correctly. Like, who in this town is asking the right questions right now?
Marielle, without a shadow of a doubt.
Really? Marielle?
Yes, Marielle is the only resident who has successfully deduced the bleakest, most terrifying truth of their existence. Death does not offer an escape clause.
Oh, right. Wow.
Abby's entire philosophy was built on the premise that if you died, the dream ended, and you woke up safe. But Marielle theorized that the town is a closed, energetic loop. If you die in Fromville, your soul doesn't depart. It gets trapped in the soil, suffering eternally as a battery for the entity.
And Zombie Raja proved her theory with terrifying accuracy.
Exactly. When Roger's corpse reanimated, he didn't wake up as one of the hollow, grinning, nocturnal predators. He woke up as Roger, a panicked, fully conscious human soul who was suddenly shoved back into a cold, decaying, mutilated body.
So horrifying.
His frantic attempts to rip his sewn mouth open weren't predatory. They were driven by sheer claustrophobic terror. He was trapped in his own rotting flesh. Marielle's hypothesis is 100% correct, and it elevates the stakes of survival to an agonizing new level.
It is the most depressing realization imaginable. But if Marielle is the one asking the brilliant right questions, Boyd is currently the reigning champion of making the absolute worst administrative decisions. I need to go off on him for a second.
Go for it.
Why is the sheriff, the seasoned military veteran, the tactical leader of the town, loudly discussing top-secret, highly sensitive life-or-death ambush protocols while Sophia is standing 3 feet away, sweeping the floor?
He is a catastrophic, unforgivable failure of operational security.
She is the newest resident in town. She arrived under incredibly suspicious circumstances. She radiates shady energy. And Boyd is just standing by his desk loudly declaring, "Here are the exact GPS coordinates and the specific timestamp of where I plan to trap and execute a monster tonight."
With a map spread out and everything.
He literally handed his playbook directly to the enemy's spy. It is maddening.
It speaks to the erosion of Boyd's cognitive state. He is drowning in desperation, he is physically losing his grip due to the undiagnosed tremors, and he is mentally fracturing under the weight of leadership.
He's just so tired.
When you are that desperate for a singular victory, your peripheral vision narrows. You stopped seeing the threats in your own living room. But you were entirely correct. It was a foolish, amateur mistake that directly resulted in Kenny nearly being ripped to shreds on top of a bus.
Okay, I need to pivot because my brain is overflowing with speculation right now. We need to talk about the deeper implications of all this. There are so many wild, expansive theories floating around the Reddit forums, and I need to float one that has been consuming my thoughts for days.
Lay out the parameters of the theory.
Okay, the theory is that the entire physical construct of the town is actually a young child's imagination, actively recreating reality based on fragmented memories and vintage toys.
Okay, I've seen this one.
Think about the physical evidence. The electrical wires in the houses run down into the ground but don't connect to any power grid, yet the lamps still turn on. The physics of the forest are spatially impossible. And look at the monsters.
They do look like dolls.
They don't look like ancient demons. They look like mid-century archetypes.
Yeah.
The 1950s milkman, the retro cheerleader, the smiling mechanic. It's exactly how a child playing with a box of vintage dolls would imagine scary adults. What if the ghostly boy in white is the original dreamer, and this entire purgatory is just his warped, imaginative sandbox trapping real people?
It's an incredibly popular theoretical framework, and it elegantly accounts for the dream logic and the physical inconsistencies of the infrastructure. However, I lean much more heavily toward the purgatory or trapped entity model.
The soul farm theory.
Yes. I don't believe the town is a child's imaginative playground. I believe it is a highly sophisticated agricultural cage. And the human residents are merely livestock.
Ugh, livestock.
The ancient entity that architected this dimension feeds on specific emotional frequencies, primarily suffering, terror, and the crushing of hope. That is precisely why every time the residents achieve a minor victory or uncover a clue, a massive tragedy immediately follows.
The entity is literally farming their tears.
The entity allows them to build hope just so it can harvest the despair when it crushes it. And as Marielle's realization proved, that energetic harvesting continues even after the physical body dies. It's a soul farm.
That is deeply, profoundly upsetting, but the logic is airtight. But how do the specific creatures fit into that model? Fatima dropped a piece of lore that genuinely shook me.
About the origins of the monsters.
Yes. She posited that the nocturnal monsters we see today are actually the mutated remains of the original human townspeople from centuries ago, the ones who made a dark pact and sacrificed their own children, the Nkui kids, in exchange for immortality.
That hypothesis aligns perfectly with the established rules of dark magic and folklore. If the original settlers of the land struck a Faustian bargain with the ancient entity, offering the innocent souls of their children in exchange for eternal life, their karmic punishment was the perversion of that wish.
They got what they wanted, but twisted.
They were granted immortality, but they were stripped of their humanity, their souls, and their ability to walk in the sunlight. It explains their hollow, smiling demeanor and why they sleep deep in the subterranean tunnels, physically surrounding the skeletal remains of the children they betrayed. They are eternally bound to the physical location of their sin.
Oh, wow. That perfectly bridges into the hidden magical clues we witness in this exact episode. Let's look at the mechanics of Sophia's blood magic.
The egg.
Yes, the egg. When she was preparing to resurrect Roger, she didn't just grab any standard egg from the kitchen. She went to the coop and specifically hunted for a fertilized egg. When she smashed it over the corpse, there was visible blood from the unborn chick.
Right, I noticed that.
The spell required a strict life for a life exchange. She had to violently end the potential life of the chick to reanimate the dead tissue of Roger. It perfectly mirrors the original townspeople sacrificing their own children for their dark magic. The rules of the universe demand an equivalent exchange.
That is an excellent analytical catch. The magic in this realm is never free. It operates on a strict energetic currency. Speaking of subtle clues regarding the nature of the realm, did you notice the specific methodology Jade employed when he was trying to map the underground tunnel system?
You mean when he was arranging all the random pieces of scrap metal and junk on the table in the bar?
Exactly. When challenged, Jade explicitly stated that his brain processes data better spatially rather than on paper, noting that this spatial mapping is exactly the cognitive process he used to build his billion-dollar software company in the real world.
Wait, I totally missed that line.
There's a very persistent, lingering Reddit theory that the entire town of Fromville is actually a highly advanced, rogue quantum software simulation that Jade's own company created.
No way.
The theory posits he wiped his own memory to enter the simulation as a beta tester, but the AI architecture mutated and trapped him. The director deliberately focusing on his spatial architectural coding skills feels like a massive, flashing neon nod to that simulation possibility.
A rogue, mutated AI simulation that would beautifully explain the glitches, the spatial loops in the road, and the electricity working without wires. It's like a corrupted server. My mind is entirely blown.
It's a fun theory to play with.
But looking forward, how does the social structure of the town handle this pressure cooker? I am officially placing my bets right now. The town is about to fracture into a full-blown, violent civil war.
Factions are definitely forming.
You have the believers, the faction following Jade and Tabitha's reincarnation and spiritual theories, and then the pragmatists who think the believers have completely lost their minds to the forest. Sophia explicitly stated that her favorite part of the game is watching the humans tear each other apart. A civil war is exactly the outcome she is actively engineering.
I completely agree that a severe sociological division is imminent. The stress fractures are already visible. But my immediate short-term prediction is entirely centered on the psychological collapse of Henry.
Poor Henry.
Sophia successfully planted the insidious idea that his reality is a coma dream. The hyper-realistic hospital visions are solidifying that delusion. I predict with a high degree of certainty that Henry is going to go full Abby. He is going to attempt to jump off the roof of Colony House, or worse, try to save Victor by killing him, operating under the absolute belief that physical death is the only mechanism to wake up from the nightmare.
Absolutely not. Victor has endured 40 years of unimaginable suffering. If his own father tries to murder him to save him, I will personally riot. I cannot handle that level of tragedy.
It's heavily foreshadowed.
Well, I hate it. All right, let's inject a little levity into this heavy breakdown. We need to judge these characters' life choices. It is time to act as the ultimate reality TV judges and assign a verdict to the absolute messiest moments of the episode. We are categorizing them as shady, snarky, or stupid.
The docket is overflowing this week. Present the first case.
First up, Julie completely, callously ignoring Tabitha's massive reincarnation bombshell and immediately choosing to walk out the door to go do drugs with Elgin instead. What is the official verdict?
Oh, this one requires zero deliberation. The verdict is profoundly stupid.
100% stupid. I was so deeply annoyed with Julie's behavior.
It was very teenage rebellion.
Just last episode, she was sitting in the dirt with Sarah, acting incredibly empathetic, giving speeches about how she finally understands the trauma of the town. But the very second her own mother sits her down at the kitchen table, vulnerably opening up about sharing the historical memories of Miranda and the town's bloody origins, Julie completely shuts off.
Total shutdown.
She acts entirely heartless, rolls her eyes, dismisses the most vital historical intelligence they have received in months, and storms out to get high.
It is defensively, aggressively stupid.
Yeah.
If we analyze her psychology, Julie recently failed at controlling her own supernatural story-walking abilities.
Yeah.
She feels inadequate. So now she's projecting that failure and insecurity onto Tabitha.
She just doesn't want to deal with it.
By rejecting Tabitha's truth and framing her mother as crazy, Julie doesn't have to face her own supernatural shortcomings. It is classic avoidance. But in a high-stakes survival environment, actively ignoring crucial historical threat data because you want to throw a teenage temper tantrum is an evolutionary failure.
Perfectly stated. Okay, next up. Jade continually calling Kenny Coach Kenny, while Kenny is in the middle of having a profound existential crisis about his life's purpose.
I am ruling this one snarky.
Really? You are going to defend Jade's lack of empathy here.
I am absolutely defending Jade's workflow mechanics. Jade operates with a dry, singular, obsessive focus. He is currently attempting to spatially map out a subterranean labyrinth of death tunnels to save the lives of every single person in the town.
He is busy, yes.
Kenny, meanwhile, is pacing around the room, trauma dumping about his unfulfilling past career as an administrator for youth sports leagues.
Kenny just needed a friend.
Jade simply does not possess the emotional bandwidth to pause his world-saving calculations to host a therapy session. So, he assigns Kenny a mildly condescending nickname to deflect the emotional labor. It's snarky, it's dismissive, but it is highly efficient boundary setting for Jade's workflow.
Fine, I will concede to Snarky purely based on his need for workflow efficiency, but this final moment is absolutely undeniable. Sophia, standing in the shadows at the top of the Colony House staircase, smiling down at the bloody chaos after Zombie Roger breaks through the door.
Shady. Incredibly, profoundly, undeniably shady.
The ultimate definition of shady. She is completely diabolical. Let's review her itinerary for the week. She poisons a grieving father's drink with blood magic just to shatter his fragile psyche.
Check.
She actively eavesdrops on the town's tactical defense plans and reports them to the nocturnal monsters, nearly getting Kenny slaughtered. And then, as her grand finale, she performs ancient necromancy to resurrect a rotting corpse and unleash it inside a crowded home, all while she just stands on the landing, smirking like she's watching premium cable television. She is treating their profound generational trauma like an amusing reality show.
She is the physical manifestation of the entity's malice. She doesn't just desire their physical deaths. That would be too simple, too merciful. She actively wants them to suffer, to be consumed by terror, and to fundamentally betray one another. Smiling at the orchestration of that chaos is the textbook definition of shady.
She is a menace, and she needs to be stopped.
Ah.
Okay, we have reached the final segment of the discussion. Based on the absolute chaos, shifting magic rules, and psychological breaks of this weekend, we need to definitively rank the characters' survival trajectories.
Let's start with the optimal outcome. Who is most likely to survive?
I am officially giving the crown to Fatima.
Analytically, it is the only logical conclusion based on current data. Fatima has officially unlocked a tier of supernatural power that no other human possesses.
The mind control.
She can project her consciousness through the monster's eyes and physically paralyze them with her mind. If she learns to fully control and weaponize the monsters against each other, she transitions from a helpless victim to the most dominant force on the board. She holds the ultimate tactical trump card.
I just pray the connection to the hive mind doesn't corrupt her soul in the process. Okay, moving to the tragic end of the spectrum. Most likely to crack under pressure.
Sadly, I think the evidence points to one specific individual.
It's Henry. It breaks my heart to say it, but he is actively shattering into a million pieces.
He is.
He is currently relying on severe alcoholism as his primary coping mechanism. He was just violently confronted with the impossible concept that his dead wife's soul is inhabiting another woman. His son is trapped in a state of severe PTSD.
It's too much for one person.
And to compound all of that physical and emotional stress, Sophia is actively running a psychic torture campaign, invading his mind with hospital visions to convince him to end his own life. He is a fragile glass cannon, and the structural integrity is failing. He is going to break.
He fundamentally lacks the calloused, hardened resilience that the long-term residents of Fromville have built up over years of exposure. He is too raw. Next category. Most likely to save everyone.
Elgin. The Elgin Redemption Tour is officially underway, and I have front row tickets.
It was a massive narrative course correction for his character. After spending the entire season paralyzed by fear, being manipulated and nearly drowned by his own terrifying visions, Elgin was the one who acted when the crisis hit.
He didn't even hesitate.
When Zombie Roger breached the door and everyone else froze in panic, Elgin didn't hesitate. He grabbed the heavy stone totem, charged the threat, and speared a reanimated corpse to the wall. He single-handedly proved the tactical value of the totems against necromancy, and he protected the entire household. Elgin decisively stepped up.
We absolutely love to see the growth. And finally, the most frustrating category, most likely to accidentally make everything worse.
I have to hand this title directly to Sheriff Boyd.
Yes, I love Boyd, I respect his service, but he is an absolute liability on the field right now.
His dogged, relentless determination to solve the puzzle is completely blinding his situational awareness. He is so utterly desperate for a singular tactical victory that he is actively ignoring his own severely declining neurological health.
The tremors are getting so bad.
Those hand tremors are going to cause a fatal misstep in a close-quarters combat situation, getting himself or a civilian killed. And more critically, his desperation makes his leadership sloppy. He is loudly broadcasting high-level tactical ambush plans with a literal demonic spy sitting 3 feet away in his own office. He is accidentally, repeatedly handing the enemy the keys to the castle.
He needs to take a massive step back, sit down, and let Coach Kenny run defensive plays for a minute. Boyd desperately needs a nap, a glass of water, and a comprehensive medical evaluation from Christy.
I could agree more. His current trajectory is unsustainable.
Wow, what an incredibly dense, chaotic breakdown. Snark Squad, that is all the intense analysis and unfiltered reality check commentary we have for today, but the discussion is far from over. We're officially putting out the call to action. We need you to jump into the comments and weigh in on the great debates.
We need definitive demographic data. Are you fiercely Team Lake House or Team Beach House?
And what is your objectively favorite lake activity? Are you a highly sensible, logistical sunset cruiser? Or are you an intellectual visionary who prefers to float aimlessly with a cold drink in your hand?
Furthermore, we need to know your exact, step-by-step, perfect Sunday wind-down routine. What are your specific coping mechanisms for fighting off the existential dread of the Sunday scaries?
And most importantly, regarding the deep lore we unpacked today, what is your biggest, most unhinged theory right now? Are the characters trapped in a quantum AI simulation? Is it a traumatized child's dreamscape? Is it a cyclical, demonic purgatory farm? We need your hot takes.
Thank you everyone for joining the discussion. As always, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this breakdown with your messiest, most theory-obsessed friend. Your engagement genuinely fuels the show.
But before we let you go back to reality, we're leaving you with one final, deeply unsettling, logically terrifying thought based on the shifting rules of magic we witnessed today.
Consider the math of this new revelation. We just empirically learned that the ancient stone totems possess the specific power to kill reanimated human corpses, but they're entirely useless against the actual nocturnal monsters.
Which is terrifying.
Concurrently, we know Fatima is unlocking the psychic ability to control Smiley, and she will likely use him to fight and kill the other monsters on behalf of the humans. So if the human resistance actually starts winning the monster war using Fatima's powers, what is functionally stopping Sophia from simply walking into the overflowing town cemetery, performing a mass blood spell, and resurrecting every single dead human buried in that dirt to fight the residents instead? Sleep on that tactical nightmare.
Oh my god, an army of rotting, reanimated zombie residents clawing their way out of the dirt. I hate that concept with every fiber of my being. Snark Squad, stay curious, stay chaotic, and we'll see you on the Snark side.